Captain Vladimir Martus is what the well-heeled world used to refer to as a man of affairs. Not unlike his adventurous and like-minded shipbuilding and globe-trotting predecessors of centuries gone by, Vladimir is a man of many talents. Master and commander, shipbuilder, merchant, RYA sail training provider, charity founder, and racer of tall ships. The list goes on and on. When you consider the depth of his nautical accomplishments and capacities, you might be surprised to learn that he's also remarkably unassuming, often greeting the press, his new crew members, or members of the public in his bare feet or in period naval costume as they step aboard his custom-built early 18th century tall ship. Quietly spoken, eloquent in his manner, he is, in every sense of the expression, a mountain of a man. Captain Martus, welcome to the House of Mercy.
Hello.
What's it like to be the captain of a world-famous pirate ship?
Well, just imagine you come with a wooden ship to the port, and people coming to see you, and you are still in your house, in your home, and you are welcoming them as a host, and usually they are very amazed to see such a ship. So that's very good mood and very good welcome I could show to people, and at the same time receive the good welcome from them. And I already get used when people recognize me on the streets, although at the beginning that was a bit strange.
Who inspires you?
Well, when I was maybe 17, 18 years old, I got a book of Henry Ford, my life and my work, and there was several very, very good ideas he was putting forward, and one of those ideas, if you do something for the society, then that will be supported, that will have success. If you're just working for yourself, for your own, this activity would have no future. And that was the idea behind the Standard when we started building Peter the Great replica ship in Russia, and Russia needed to come back to its history. That was a huge support from people of St. Petersburg, from business, from administration, from all embassies and sponsors and all sorts of stuff. So my favorite saying is, life is what you make it. There's another one which I like professionally. It's about the Ark was built by amateur. Professionals, they build Titanic.
I like that one as well. When did you know that you wanted to build and sail historic tall ships?
Well, when I was young, I was racing on windsurfing for many years, and then it was a moment when a friend of mine invited me to the replica ship, and I sailed to Spitsbergen on a 16th century ship with no engine, no electricity, no navigation or radio, and I like it so much, the feeling of being on a wooden boat and feeling the freedom. So that was like a turning moment in my life, and after that I decided, well, I want to build my own ship, and I want to do something nice for my city, to make other people joining the maritime heritage and feel the same joy and pleasure.
I know you had a very distinguished naval career. I'm surprised to find that historic sailing ships came to you later on in your career. As a child, did you build scale model ships?
My father, he was going to build a motorboat, but that was Soviet Union, and it was quite difficult times, and he never managed to get materials, and that was just a dream, but that dream probably sit in my brain for the rest of my life, and I think if my father would see me now, he would be very, very pleased with that.
Tell us more about your spectacular Russian frigate, the Standard. Was this the first tall ship or yacht that you personally were involved in building?
No, not really. Before Standard, I built a replica schooner called St. Peter. People could see her in the Pirates of the Caribbean, the first. That schooner is playing Black Pearl in several moments. I'm quite proud about that. That was the first experience, 4 years sailing on that ship, visiting many different shipbuilding projects in Europe. And the Standard is a 3-masted, full-size replica of 28-gun ship. The original crew was 150 men, and that ship was the most beautifully decorated in the Russian Navy for many years. It was a favorite ship of Russian Tsar Peter the Great. That was in order to preserve Standard forever, although the ship wasn't preserved, but the name was given to many other ships. And the last very famous ship, the Nicholas II Royal Yacht, also had a name Standard, which means the royal flag, the royal standard. So this is a great story, and Peter the Great is quite a hero for Russians, because his life was devoted to make good for the country, not get much wealth for himself. And that's something which could be taken into account by some modern people there. So yeah, Standard is really great chance to tell this part of the story. And myself and several friends of mine, we decided, okay, let's do that. There's no standard existing, but that was an order of Peter the Great. Let's keep the orders and build the replica. It took us 6 years. We start from felling down trees. We start from the scratch. We established an improvised shipyard on the beach. No workshops, nothing around. We built everything, and in 6 years we built the ship completely traditional methods, just as it was 300 years ago. We were making nails in forge, we were cutting trees, we were slicing them in pieces, just everything was done by hand as it would be 300 years ago. And the later stage, when we launched the ship, we built some modern equipment in just for the safety standards, like navigation or fridges or engines or things like that.
I want to ask you about making an historic sailing vessel meet modern day health and safety requirements in just a moment. But first, I'd like to ask you now, given that you have spent so many years at sea on different tall ships, can you share with us what you feel is the scariest particular thing about building tall ships and sailing them across the oceans?
Well, I don't think it was any scare. I mean, if you're going to be scared, you'd better do something different. But the moment when we decide that we are going to start and complete the ship, I mean standard, it was no doubts and no fears. That was hard time, and that time in Russia it was not enough money even for food, so we had to work as a night taxi drivers to get some money for living. But that was overcome, and then we were working hard, and that was the greatest team ever. I think that was one of the happiest time of my life, because it was absolutely gorgeous team working together, and I want to bring that time back, and I want to create another dream team.
I imagine it can be rather unglamorous at times, sailing centuries-old vessels across the high seas. Conversely, I'm sure that circumnavigating the globe on a living museum can also be quite a swanky affair. How many films and movies have been filmed on board the Standard in its 15 years at sea?
Well, I cannot really count all of them. There were several Russian movies you probably don't aware of, but we were in National Geographic series about Peter the Great, and we were in several Dutch movies, Nova Zembla and Admiral, about Admiral de Ruyter. And recently we were in several British movies. That was a documentary on BBC about Romanov's family, and we also were in Peter Pan, which is due for this Christmas. So that is good fun, being captain of the ship. And I had a challenge in one of the movies. I'm usually wearing just kind of historical shirt, and I had a challenge not to have any makeup for the movie, but be in a picture. And actually it was great fun when in this full style movie which goes on a big screen, when all the admirals looking in the looking glass, I could see my face there steering the ship, just in my ordinary clothes as I'm wearing always. So that was good fun.
Why build a clipper ship?
Well, that was a pinnacle of the sailing era, of the great sailing era. That was probably the best achievement of human knowledge about sailing ships. They were fastest, they were slim, they were just beautiful, and I think we should remember that. We should preserve that part of history. But also in the modern days, with all these environmental issues, sailing and using power of the wind is coming back on the stage. We have to save our planet of CO2 emissions, and sails could be a solution. Certainly no one is saying that let's replace all the commercial traffic, but sailing ships were the skill, the knowledge, and if you could bring it back, that could be really important in modern life. And the clipper ship, well, that's a beauty, and the Cutty Sark is the most beautiful of them all. So I just love it, and so that choice was obvious.
Clearly, it would be advantageous with reference to cargo transportation to have a fast vessel. And if what I gather is correct, imply that clipper ships are in fact faster on the water than modern day fossil fuel powered cargo transporters?
Yeah, in a way, but I see our challenge as to show to the world that sailing, age of sail could come back, and to train future generations for that. Certainly these clippers were sailing faster than the modern cargo ships, Well, the container ships were sailing 25 knots, but they had to reduce the speed in order to save the fuel. So now they are sailing 13, 15 knots. Cutty Sark was doing 17. So in certain moments, she could be faster. But yeah, the symbol is more important. We are showing the world that that is possible.
So there is a good future in historic shipping methods. How many people does it take to crew a clipper ship?
In the historical times, that was 20 to 24. And I'm sure we could handle that with the same crew. They had to do all the work on the ship. They have to, from time to time, climb up there on the rigging and control the ship with the steering wheel. But I want to have maybe 40 or 50 trainees on board, so that will be a little bit easier, not that tough as it was that time. And at the same time, people would get a training and get a knowledge. So we are thinking about 50, 60 trainees for the journey.
Do you have to be a big, strong man to do it, or can anyone learn to be a sailor?
Well, in that time, children and young boys usually leave their home and go sailing when they were 10, 12, 13 years old. And they were on the ships and they were obtaining the knowledge, they were studying and learning, and in 15 or 16 they would be quite capable sailors. So you don't need a lot of strength. You have to be brave, you have to overcome your challenges, but that's what people obtain while doing.
Clipper ships and merchant shipping in the 19th century were cutting-edge business. Tell me a little about the clipper ship's struggle for survival against the burgeoning steamship industry. Was the Cutty Sark redundant before she even hit the water for her maiden voyage?
Absolutely. The day when they launched Cutty Sark, almost the same day when they opened Suez Canal. And T-clippers especially, they were good because they were sailing around Cape of Good Hope to China and returning back with a cargo of fresh tea. And with Suez Canal, the steamships could make the same way shorter and with the same speed. So that was killing moment for the sailing fleet. Of course, the clipper ships, they switched to Australia and they were carrying wool from Australia to Europe. But yeah, that was a struggle. And between themselves, the ships were racing for the pride of captain to be the first ship entering the port with a fresh harvest of tea. And it was a small prize there. But that's what would be nice to repeat, isn't it?
Of all the historic vessels that have come and gone, why did you choose to replicate the Cutty Sark?
First of all, because it's a world famous name. That is the name of the ship. That was a name for the tall ship races, which was running for almost 50 years. And this is a really pinnacle of the sailing age, the most advanced and the fastest ship. And we have most detailed information how she was built, because this is the real ship there in Greenwich in the Maritime Museum. She's very well preserved, although she never is going to sail. She's sailing above the window glass roof there, which is a pity. So that's why the motivation is, okay, that ship cannot sail, but her spirit should be taken and should be kept alive. So that's why we decide Cutty Sark is the one.
So whilst the original Cutty Sark may be suspended in time, there's no need for the spirit of the Cutty Sark to remain stationary.
Absolutely.
Clippers were known as the greyhounds of the sea. Were they the fastest ships ever built? And can modern cargo ships sail faster using fuel engines?
Yeah, the Clippers were certainly the fastest. They were larger sailing ships, which sometimes called windjammers, and they were carrying much more cargo with a low speed, and they were like huge steel monsters. They're still beautiful. There are several of them still alive, like Krusenstern or Sedov. And the modern ships, they could go faster, but that will be so much fuel wasted and spent, and so much CO2 going up. So yeah, people are more and more reasonable these days, and not always cargo need to be delivered that fast. Sometimes it's cargo which could stay another week at sea, and just thinking about saving the planet at the same moment.
It doesn't all have to be about speed. For the last decade and a half, Captain Martus and his crews have been sailing his working maritime museum, a replica 1703 frigate named Standard, around the globe, in various tall ships races and many charitable events, as well as offering onboard sail training and life-enhancing excursions. More recently, this summer, Captain Martus was an honored guest at the Royal Yachting Squadron during Cowes Week. In the same week, his latest venture, the Cutty Sark 2Sail Foundation, was given full UK-registered charitable status. This man and a highly skilled and dedicated team of specialists intend to build a working replica of the legendary Cutty Sark. And I'm delighted to say that today he's honoring us with a visit to tell us a little more about this fantastic challenge and his brave new concept, the revival of clipper ship cargo transportation. Tell me a little bit, please, about the craftsmen and women required to get involved in a project of this scale. Carving Nanny and her vessel witches, for instance. I think the Cutty Sark was spectacularly adorned in her day. Who will build the new Cutty Sark?
Well, I'm relying on our team of builders of Standard. We had really good knowledge. And we have a drive, and we know how to start and the sequence of events for the project like that. But certainly we want to bring new people from the place where we are going to start the project, and I hope to bring in volunteers from all around the world. Because the idea is the Cutty Sark is such an international symbol. It should be an international project. We will be inviting people from all countries to join us, and we will be able to teach them because we do have a knowledge. Certainly there are some things which we still have to study, and there's a composite build ship, which means it's steel frames and then a wooden planking on the top. So to work with steel, that's something which we are not that experienced, but this is a modern world, we could find a solution. But woodwork, that's what we are strong at, and the sails and rigging and blocks and decks. So I think, it's a lot of knowledge necessary, but we will be able to get it just practicing, learning by doing.
Witches. Thinking about what John Old White Hat Willis, might have been thinking about when he first built Cutty Sark. Witches, famously, can't travel across water. What do you think John Willis was thinking when he chose this ship's name, Cutty Sark?
Sure, if everyone knows that Cutty Sark is a character from a Rob Byrne poem, and she is a young, beautiful witch, and the gentleman there having a bit of beer saw they dancing in the church, and she got angry and she was trying to catch his horse, and but she was beautiful, and whatever George Willis was thinking about, I think that was a good choice, because Cutty Sark is the only survived clipper. So the name, and probably the witch was keeping her alive. So I think it's a good sign, and I just like that. And in our, we are making all the brochures and everything. And the image of Cutty Sark, or Nanny D, that was her real name, is always there. It's a bit of fun, and I hope that will bring us a bit of luck.
Can anyone sail as a crew member on clipper ships or tall ships?
Absolutely. I think it's just a question of personal will and intention to make some change in the life. Because what is sailing on a ship? It's doing something new which you never done before, but you are meeting new people, you are learning new skills, you see other countries, you are in situations which you probably haven't been before, but you will learn how to solve all the challenges around you. So that makes person stronger. So everyone who can decide that they are capable to make some nice change in their life, they could join. No problem.
When do you expect to launch Cutty Sark 2 on her maiden voyage?
We have a great date coming. The original Cutty Sark was launched on 22nd November 1869. So 150 years later, 22nd November 2019, that would be the great day for launching a new Cutty Sark. So this is our target day, and we are going to work on that, and all our dreams and plans built with the idea that that is the day.
So you have just over 4 years to design and build and put to water the clipper ship Cutty Sark. No pressure then?
The original contract, when they were building her in back then, 150 years ago, the original contract suggested she would be built in 6 months. Actually, she was built in 11 months because they had some complications. 11 months from the contract till the ship in the water sailing. So we have a challenge from our ancestors, and I hope our team could take the challenge. Well, maybe not that fast. We are not going to work 3 shifts a day, but even 30 months, it would be good result. So I'm thinking that this is a reasonable time. 4 years, it's a reasonable time to build the ship.
Where do you intend to sail when the new Cutty Sark is fully operational?
We are going to repeat the historical routes. So she was sailing from Britain to Brazil and then around across Atlantic again to Cape of Good Hope, to Australia, to China, to India. So this is going to be across the oceans and around the globe. I think that is interesting to see those countries and come into ports of those countries with the ship which is using only wind power. I'm sure that will be a lot of attention there, and it will be a lot of interest, and of course it will be a lot of excitement for the crew. So just traditional ways, and possibly take a traditional cargo.
So you will be taking history to the world.
Yeah, that's the probably the main idea. We are going to take traditional cargo like tea or wool. That could be not that large amount. It's not industrial transportation, but the symbol that the ship is carrying cargo from A to B, I think that's important to put back into the brain of many people that is a possibility. Just a knowledge we are missing, and that knowledge we could get back.
Yeah, there's a power in understanding the application. Now, I know you mentioned briefly, touched on this topic earlier. How do you outfit an historic sailing ship with modern navigational equipment without destroying the aesthetic integrity of the replica?
Well, it's not that difficult. We have a good experience with Standard. We are hiding all the modern equipment, so the public, when they come on board and to see us ship as a museum, they don't see the modern equipment. It's not that much. It's a generator to run safety equipment, to run fridge and freezer, which should be for the long journeys. We are not going to hold our water in wooden barrels as it was that time. And a little bit of radio navigation for the safety, and of course modern communication equipment that is easily could be hidden somewhere in the captain's cabin and not destroying the appearance. The big difference, we are going to have 2 launch boats as a tugboat. So although she has no engine, but the safety should not be compromised, so we will have our tugboats always with us. Whenever we need a little bit of pull and in the doldrums or in some dangerous river streams or something, we have a little less risk than that time. And of course the weather forecasting. This is so advanced these days. As a captain, I could see the weather 7 days ahead, and if it's bad storms coming, I know the way how to get around. So with that, we have really less risk in operation. It's not as risky business as it used to be 150 years ago. We are in advanced 21st century.
What's been the reaction to the Cutty Sark 2 project from institutions across the globe and the UK?
Well, we just have to test it. We're just starting. We are at the very beginning of the way, and we are going to tell the world the story. So you probably the first people who is hearing about that. So we certainly want to have a stronger cooperation, and I hope that will be interesting for the universities and scientific organizations and the museums, of course.
John Old White Hat Willis, who we mentioned earlier, the builder of the original Cutty Sark, paid 16,150 British pounds sterling, which is approximately 25,000 US dollars in 1869, to build the original Cutty Sark. Roughly, and I'm no mathematician, but I believe that would equal around 1,600,000 pounds in today's money, roughly 2,470,000 US dollars. How much do you estimate that it will cost to build the Cutty Sark 2?
Well, I think it's around 10 times more. We are thinking about figures around 20, 22, 24 million dollars, euros, pounds, something like that. But the first stage, we are going to make precise calculation for the ship and for the budgets, and we are just approaching this stage when we have a proper set of documentation and papers. Yeah, the world has changed, but what we do, we announce in the first a very important prize. We are now making a crowdfunding campaign to get some money for Cutty Sark. We are announcing the very important prize, George Willis White Hat, and that will go to the person who is donating exactly £16,150 towards the new Cutty Sark. So we'll make a replica of the White Hat, and the portrait of that person will be in the captain's cabin of the Cutty Sark for a long time. So that is something. Well, it should be fun. Everything we are doing should give fun for everybody, for us who is going to organize that, for volunteers who is going to come and build, for companies who is going to come and support us. So just we are talking about fun and doing something good.
You've mentioned your crowdfunding project, which is coming up. We have had a look at that, and there are several interesting offers available there. My interest was particularly drawn to the inheritable platinum card. Can you tell me a little more about that?
Well, we decided to call it a Cutty Sark passport. So we want to issue the passport for the person who want to be related to the Cutty Sark. So that passport would allow him or her to come on board at any time with his guests or family, but also it would allow him her to sail the ship one journey a year, maybe like 4 weeks, and that passport could be inherited by his or her children, grandchildren. It also could be like a Christmas present for somebody. So that interesting idea, and well, it's also around the same original cost of Cutty Sark. It's not very small money, but we believe that people would feel touched and related, and they would be pleased to support this dream and make this dream reality.
Have you selected a port in which to build as yet?
We are still working on it. We are now making a survey for quite many locations where the Cutty Sark could be built. What we are very much interested in is to find a community which would say, yes, we like that project. A community which would adopt this baby and take care about her, help us, not just see us as an investor who could build a workshop and employ the workforce. We want to find a place which would share our ideas and dreams. Well, there is potential, because building the ship for 2 or 3 years as a museum shipyard, and possibly build another replica ship or maybe another T-Clipper at the same facilities, that creates a bit of tourism. I'm sure that will be attractive, and I'll do my best to make it attractive tourist event in the community. So we are looking for the community. Maybe somebody is listening to your radio at the moment and say, oh, well, I know the mayor of the town somewhere on the east or west or south coast, and that may happen.
So do please get in touch. Now, speaking of which, Vladimir, how can people get involved in the project?
Well, it's easiest. We have the website cutty-sark.org. That's as simple as that. All information starts from there. We will have a very big button, crowdfunding, working for during November, and all the links are there. People could subscribe for our news or become a crew member, not just ship, but crew member of a building team. We are now in a stage when we are assembling the dream team. We are very happy to welcome people who want to do something together with us and maybe take one direction of the project and lead that direction and develop it further. So we are very open at the moment, and just our website, cuttysark.org.
Ships ahoy, all on board. Captain Vladimir Martus, it's been a genuine pleasure having you in the studio with us today. Thank you for coming in and sharing your brave new vision with us. We wish you and the Cutty Sark 2Sail Foundation every success and look forward to seeing her launched on November 22nd, 2019. Don't forget the debut crowdfunding campaign to build a working replica of the Cutty Sark 2Sail can be found on Indiegogo.com or by searching for #RebornToSail. That's #Reborn2Sail. Thank you very much. Can you leave us with your own personal motto, Captain Martus?
Life is what you make it. Thank you. Where is a will, there is a way. Go for your adventure.